Hi everyone, Graham Couch here from the Lansing State Journal alongside my colleague from the Detroit Free Press, Chris Solari, after one of the epic collapses in Michigan State football history, and we've seen a few in recent years. A game here at Rutgers where Michigan State led 24-6 in the fourth quarter, in firm control of the game, a really solid debut from Katin Houser. They were getting in the end zone, lots of things going right. The defense had been timely, got turnovers, all that stuff. And then a collapse that really was spurred by two special teams mistakes, and then the momentum went one way and spiraled, and Michigan State couldn't get a hold of it.
Yeah, and the mistakes that Michigan State was making, they were benefiting from in the first half. Rutgers, team that doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't commit penalties, did that in abundance in the first half, and then didn't in the second half at all. And Michigan State is, after having a fairly decent opening half, they turned it over a couple times on fumbles, but managed to turn it back over from the defensive side. You saw it with the punt that was dropped and turned into a Rutgers touchdown. That came right after a penalty, and Greg Schiano made Michigan State kick the punt over again in a move that really changed the course of the game.
Yeah, and look, Michael O'Shaughnessy and Eckley have gone back and forth is Michigan State's punter. Eckley's been more effective more often. I'm surprised they were with O'Shaughnessy there. They went back to Eckley. It wound up biting them. They were in the onside kick formation later, still had a guy back, and they didn't get the kickoff. And these are special teams mistakes that just cripple a team that needed a win, deserved a win, and was still. I don't think this team had quit. I think they were still playing for themselves, for maybe the postseason, for whatever. They were just they were still playing hard, and they'd stuck together. And you do now start to wonder about the resolve. Not a great time for Michigan to be coming in and their confidence.
2 games with 2 special teams mistakes, 3 actually if you count the 2 today. 2 games that are both decided on special teams mistakes for Michigan State. The punt return touchdown at Iowa when you had the gunners lined up on one side and the punt went the other way. These are things that can cost the team and their psyche. I think next week with Michigan coming in, knowing it's the first night game in Spartan Stadium, knowing what happened last year at Michigan Stadium and all the things that transpired after that, I don't think it's going to be hard to get the guys up for that. It's the weeks after that I think it's going to be difficult, particularly how this game ended. You need a good feel next week somehow, whether it be to be competitive or something big to happen for that rest of the season at this point.
Yeah, you worry about heads starting to drop, because when the momentum turned in this game, they could not get it back. And
those heads started dropping.
It was going downhill pretty badly on them. Hey, look, let's talk about Katin Houser. You look at this game and you go, boy, he should have been starting earlier. I will say, though, he didn't win the job in the summer, and I trust that. And I think you have to give the guy who wins the job the opportunity. Maybe they waited a week too long, but they gave him the bye week to prepare. And I thought he got things going. The brick wall that was the end zone kind of came down, and they get in there 3 times, and a run by him, 2 passing touchdowns, and they used him, I thought, effectively. Didn't ask him to do too much. Used his legs, his sort of sturdy frame. He looked confident out there, and he didn't really elevate them. Like when they in the second half, when they could have used like what you would hope he would be as a junior or senior. Yeah. But he was good for most of the game.
He was efficient. He was effective, and he benefited from a couple picks that weren't.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
One was with a defensive offsides call that looked like the receiver was running the route that they wanted to run, and he threw it right to the defender. That got waved off. He had one to Jerron Glover on the outside that Glover almost volleyball bumped to himself out of a defender's hand, and then the one to Evan Morris that turned into a catch that was right in the defender's hand. It almost was a pick 6 to end the game the other way. Yeah. So and he admitted this after the game that he was far from perfect, and there were plays that he had that he wanted back, and there were mistakes, and there were a lot of mistakes, both with him. And the defense, I thought, played fairly well throughout much of the game, but big plays on first downs that started drives. There were a couple things that happened. This wasn't a perfect game in either way.
But going back to him, he did throw the ball away a couple times when they needed it.
He did.
He did. He took a sack when I thought was smart too, and he just tucked it, and they left him in field goal range at the end of the half. He had a couple plays. One that was a drop by Malik Hall, or at least stripped by him, that would have been a big play in the second half. Malik Carr, sorry. And then they had 2 fumbles by receivers that were turnovers.
Yeah.
So
good passes. He showed that he has some touch on his ball, and he has some velocity on his downfield pass. I thought it was a good decision, from him and Jay Johnson to go deep to Jerron Glover a couple times and draw some pass interference calls And a lot of that, I mean, some of that's nerves, and you see those balls that are almost picked off. It sounds like moving forward, it's his job.
Yeah.
And Noah Kim made the trip. Did not play, did not warm up before the game. Depending on what Harlan Barnett said, he said he wasn't hurt, said he kind of alluded to him maybe being a little dinged up, but also asserted that it is Houser's job, and that today it would have been Sam Levitt as the number two.
We'll see what that would be against Michigan, obviously, if that was needed or they decided to go. I think at some point this season, if you have to make another change for any reason, you would go to Sam Levitt. He still is a very promising quarterback prospect, and you'd like to take a look at him. But it's Houser's job as long as he plays like this and continues to grow into the season. Agree with you defensively. I thought they played a smart game in a lot of ways. They played the run. They let Wimsatt at the expense of him getting some throws early. But when the field got short, they were aggressive and tight, and they played well enough to win. And they should have won this game. It should have been a decent Big Ten win on the road. Should have changed the vibe of the season. Should have given them a chance at the postseason. Would have changed a lot. But the DNA of this team right now is finding ways to lose, and that's just
it was a fairly smart game and plan on offense too to run the ball, try and milk the clock until Rutgers took and did the same thing in the fourth quarter.
We will have complete coverage if you want to read it at freep.com, lsj.com, and greenandwhite.com. Thanks for watching.